everyone, Tara Doyle-Enneking, the President and CEO of the Puyallup Sumner Chamber of Commerce. I'm excited here today to bring you a very special C-Suite podcast. Highlighting our guest today is actually the City2City tour that we do. And really, to me, that has become one of the more robust programs that the Chamber has really leaned into to learn a lot about economic vibrancy and what we can do to play a role in it to bring it to Puyallup and Sumner. And so today I will have Mayor Dean Johnson, who attended our program last year, speak a little bit about some of the inspiration he gleaned from last year. And we also have Economic Development Manager Meredith Neal with the City of Puyallup, who was integral in helping us get this program off the ground when we went to Gilbert, Arizona last year. So Mayor Meredith, thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us. Glad to be here. Looking forward to the conversation and seeing what we can do to further our city and our region just for economic development and vibrancy. Yeah.
Great. Well, you guys both are such great advocates and play such an important role in that. So I'm grateful to have your voice today to lean some of your insight that you gleaned from the tour last year. So again, today the idea is to kind of, I guess, change any misnomers about what City2City is. It might sound like a fun field trip, and certainly it is fun. We make sure that anything we do with the Chamber has fun packed into it. But really, imagine a city that is giving us their template, if you will, on economic development. And so these might be cities that, for instance, in Gilbert, Arizona last year, they were originally the hay capital of the world and ended up coming to grow into such a vibrant metropolitan city outside of Phoenix. And really, they did that in a 30-year cycle. So it didn't happen overnight, but how lucky are we when we too are on this trajectory where that's so important to our city. You've got your city council members committed to it, your economic development managers committed to it in both cities, really putting us on a map in a unique way, innovative way, attracting great residents and businesses to our area. And so when a city that we can partner with, particularly a chamber in that city that can really bring all the key players that were vital to creating that vibrancy. And again, they open up their playbook, they produce a tour for us where every minute of the day is jam-packed, and even at every stop along the way, they'll bring a panel of speakers on timely topics. So I'll talk a little bit about what is going to be coming ahead here, because our City2City tour this year is October 1st through the 4th, and we will be in Boise, Caldwell and Meridian, Idaho. So I will unpack for you that itinerary, but let's first talk a little bit about why Gilbert, Arizona in an inaugural year was such a success in so many ways. So let's maybe kick it to Meredith first, just on the value and the why. Why are we doing something like this? Why is it important to a city to be able to be a part of this?
So, I think there's always power in taking a number of people from your community, your business leaders, and your local government to a different place. Because there are so many things that you can learn from that place, and when you're doing it together, you have that shared language that somebody can say, there's this thing that I saw and I know what it is that they saw. And I am able to then call my counterpart in that city and learn more about that. And I think that for me, that was part of what was so powerful about the Gilbert trip, was that we were able to glean a lot of insights from our counterparts in the other cities, how they made things happen. But then I also had follow-up meetings with quite a few people on the staff there, both on their tourism side, their economic development side, and with their leadership team, to really understand how they did some of the things that they did, how they brought it into play, how they funded it, and how they reached those decisions along the way. And so it really has helped us sort of streamline a few of those things. We had a number of key takeaways of things that we could do in our city, those targeted investments that we could put into our downtown area that might help guide development, and what the city contribution might be in that. And it was really good to hear from a city that had already been there and done that. And then also to hear from the other people who were part of our group, our business leaders who were saying, this is what's important to us. They would see things and they're like, oh, that's great. We need that here. There are some things that we hadn't even really thought about as being problems that might need to be solved until we saw them there and how they were solving them. And so I think that that was really powerful too, to hear from our development community and to hear from our business community saying like, this would be really cool if we did this here.
No, I agree. Anything you want to chime in on with what Meredith was saying about the value from an economic development standpoint?
Yeah, well, of course, thank you, Tara, for hosting this. And I'd like to say thanks for your leadership. I don't recall any chamber recently in the Puyallup Sumner area that's ever done a city-to-city. So the fact that you're cutting edge and really moving that forward is a real testament to our business community and to our cities that share your leadership. So thank you for that. Meredith, as well, your professionalism. When the city hired you as kind of economic development manager, it was a statement from the council and city staff that we want to see a vibrant business community happening here in the Puyallup area. What I took away from it was a couple things. Number one is I really believe that it's much like in politics. You have to work with people who have different perspectives and different views. Mm-hmm. So it's a chance to go and see what successful cities are doing, and not to be them or be like them, but really to glean what things are working for them. Can we bring back and kind of acclimate in our own way for our own city in a way that would bring prosperity to our city? So it's not wanting to be like that city, but it's we want to be who we are. Mm-hmm. But there are principles that we can bring back and apply it in our own unique way that makes us still maintain our identity, but still share that vibrant growth. So there's a lot of multiple reasons, which we can go on a little bit later, but I do think that this is a chance to realize that we don't need to recreate the wheel.
Right.
There are others who have gone before us who have found some good ideas. Let's glean from that and apply it where it makes sense. So that our city can be more vibrant and growing and really support small businesses especially, but also the constituents who value small businesses and want to support family businesses. That's the thriving growth that I want to see in the Puyallup Sumner area.
Absolutely. And last year, fortuitously, we ended up with an itinerary that took us around to, like for instance, Agritopia. When you bring someone like Krista Linden, who has such a great vision for our area with Farm 12, and she has the vision and she's communicating it, but then she gets to kind of see, this is what I was, striving for on the bigger picture. And rather than going and pitching every city council member and trying to, talk to Meredith about it and Chamber about this is my vision and how can you help me, we were all there. She needed to say nothing. We saw what the possibility looks like in a holistic community of homes and farm-to-table restaurants, a boutique hotel, a winery, just that whole mecca there for her social enterprise, and just how our city might need to get a little creative to get there because potentially current zoning may or may not allow for it. But you can all buy in that, yeah, we want it. So you're motivated and inspired in a way of let's figure out a way to do it. So that landed fortuitously on our itinerary, and it was so great that she was there. We visited a sports complex, and we think of all the kinds of things we're trying to do to be a regional sports center as well. So that was great. Holy moly, when we went to their $200 million public safety building, it is not public safety buildings, a major topic here for Puyallup as well, and just saw how a lot of their agencies joined forces to be able to have training facilities, state-of-the-art training facilities. So many great things aside from just touring their heritage district, which they have that same keen idea that we do, that we want to preserve character, but we want to be forward thinking and really show, hey, let's have a cool food hall. Let's work, what can our street festivals look like? And so we're seeing, Puyallup look at a lot of that as well, and Sumner. So many things and topics that were just put right in front of you, and again, without having to, read a white paper about it, we all experienced it in a way that is so different than just hearing about it. Yeah. So again, and any other highlights from you last year about the tour that stood out or that you appreciated?
Well, I'd like to touch on that. You raise a good point, Tara. Sometimes, when we're so kind of siloed in our personal lives, in our professional lives, and sometimes even in city life, we sometimes forget the potential of what our potential is. Mm-hmm. So I found that going out to kind of see what's happening in another city and to kind of glean from what they're doing, it kind of encouraged me in the sense that, gosh, we could do a lot more. Mm-hmm. So it kind of stimulated this kind of opportunity that there's more that we can do So it's like a little reminder, a tap on the shoulder.
Sure.
And I've also really believe I came away with a tremendous realization and absolute confidence that together as a community with all the major stakeholders, and the constituents, and getting their buy-in on the vision, because the constituents, this is their city.
Yeah.
We represent them. So it's not about what council wants, not about what the chamber wants, not about what business owners want. It's what do the people of Puyallup Sumner want? We represent that. So we want to, in a sense, hear and get feedback from them, and then live that out in a leadership way to fulfill their dream. So I think having these opportunities to get inspiration, to share that in a public forum with the residents of Puyallup Sumner, to get buy-in and then begin to fulfill that vision in a way that, in a sense, gives clear direction of where they want us to go. It's exciting, and I think there's huge potential for us.
I think that other element that organically happens, and folks always comment that I have a rather robust Rolodex, but to me that's because of trips like this in my past that I did with the Tacoma-Pierce County Chamber, going to Washington, D.C. or some of their other city tours, because sure, you're getting to meet the person from Workforce Central or from the University of Washington Tacoma on a throughout your job, at a luncheon, at a conference, at a meeting. So different when you're with them for 4 days, and the organic conversations that come out of it. And really, people have that creative mindset when you're in a setting like that too, and it's kind of all the what ifs start playing out right in front of you, and that to me is exciting, and I saw that happening. You engaged in a lot of conversations like that, and we had Shelley Willis from Workforce, and you had Sloan Clack from Corliss, and you had Sean Broback, who has so many great theme restaurants that he was gleaning insight from. So a lot of kind of key stakeholders, are here, and we're all collaborating, and you got your city council members, and we had House Representative Kelly Chambers and House Representative Eric Robertson. So you also have the rule makers that can make all of this possible right in front of you. And it's to me, that's the priceless part, the friendships and the bonding and what can come out of it. And so, this year we have the CEO of the fair, Renee McLean, coming. We've got a food hall on the lineup. We've got Boise State. We got Sumner that's going to be building a new library system, and we'll be visiting 2 state-of-the-art libraries that the current executive director for the Pierce County Library System was integral in developing in Meridian area. So again, fortuitous that was her prior job, and here she's tasked with that here. So again, I'll get into the itinerary a little bit more, but talk a little bit about those relationships, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to me, the value of being able to stand there and look at things was a pretty high value. But frankly, I think the bus rides in between were the best, because that's when we were able to really talk about what we had just seen, and where you could, and every time I noticed we were all sort of rotating around on the bus.
Yeah.
And so, there'd be different conversation groups, and I'd be sitting there talking, with a restaurateur and somebody who's doing the engineering for the fair, and somebody else, and we're talking about the realities of this, and could we do it? And then, and then we pull Representative Chambers into the conversation, and if we were thinking about doing this, is there a pathway for funding? Or do you think, do you see anything on the horizon? And I think those were really valuable conversations, and really in the debriefing between each of the things that we saw, in having those conversations about what really could be and what we could take from this and make ours, that was really, representative of our community and where we want to go next.
Absolutely.
I would agree. I would say there's 2 elements. You've got the professional side of it, which is going down and looking, analyzing the business aspect of it, but you got the relational side. And when you move those 2 together, it's a powerful force. If it's strictly professional only, it's very sterile, it's very, whatever, money-centric, right? And if it's too relational with no business mindset, that we all feel good, but nothing gets done. So when you combine the business model with the relational model, it's amazing the synergy and vibrancy can come with those 2 together. And the City Tour provides a conduit, Tara, for that to come together. You get professionals going down there, looking at professional opportunities, but you have relational, conversations happening that I think when it comes together, it really creates some vibrancy, and the chance of success ratio is much, much higher. So we need both of those.
Absolutely.
And I think this provides that venue.
Yeah, and I really do think it planted a lot of seeds that I still, have conversations with people who were on the Gilbert trip last year. That, there are some things that are being, they're in the infant stages and they're being fertilized a little bit.
Sure.
And, with conversations, and I'm sure that some of those will grow up into things that we can probably look back in 5 or 10 years and say, that really started with this tour, and seeing something and saying we need to bring that to our community.
I love it. Well, and I think just one, again, maybe low-hanging fruit, but it seemed like right away Councilmember King came right back after being inspired, and I guess maybe Meredith, you could speak a little to more what happened with his inspiration and how he immediately instituted something.
Yeah, so one of the things that we were noticing was that, during the nightscape in the Heritage District, that you had a lot of color and a lot of vibrancy, and there was a lot of lighting, including specialty lighting in a number of different areas. And Councilmember King came back and during the budget discussions raised the idea of using some lodging tax funds to do a civic core lighting plan. And council approved that, and I know that you were a supporter of that and kind of moving that forward. And so now there's a contract in place, and hopefully, all of the civic core buildings in the downtown core, so City Hall and the library and the pavilion and the stage, will have some new lighting on them that we can then use for different events, for different seasonal needs.
Love it.
Yeah, I want to touch on that a little bit because I've forgotten about that. Thanks for the reminder about that. The city had put in that lighting in the Pioneer Park, those little kind of, little drop lights there. And what Meredith is referring to is something on the building outline which will enhance that. But all I know is ever since we put that lighting in the park, 2 things have happened. Number one is people love it. You're creating a walkability, a sense of almost like it's a festive. You get these little backyard lights. So the park is filled with these cute little lights, and it creates this kind of a gathering spot and kind of quaint and very, want to hang out there. So again, as Puyallup, continues to grow, we want to make sure it's a place that grows not, in terms of, kind of car and traffic, but to get out of the car, walk in your downtown core and engage. So lighting and streetscapes help make that very meaningful, to get your kids out, the strollers, moms, dads, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, seniors, all kind of walking around downtown core. But the lighting helps.
And Gilbert did it in some unique ways. So it sounds like, inspiration was brought back to do some similar. That's awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about our Boise lineup. So, the hotel this year is pretty special. It's the Grove Hotel right in downtown Boise, and again with walkability to City Hall and to so much of what is the core of Boise. Moving around throughout tours, though, when we go to some of the other cities, we are on a professional coach that takes us there. But we'll be kicked off on that Sunday, October 1st, with a cocktail welcome reception that's going to be hosted by Boise Metro Chamber. And Boise Metro Chamber is unique in that they are both the economic development arm, the tourism arm, and the chamber. So they have 3 agencies all within one roof. And so having all of their leaders and getting, to hear from them and getting to kind of, I guess, schmooze with them that first evening is going to be such a great way to kick it all off. So they'll be hosting us, little food and beverages. Then we'll be walking to dinner at something called Western Proper. Each of the places we've chosen to dine have some kind of, again, intentionality. What is unique about this particular place, or, what's their story? How are they utilizing this space? All of those are what we put a lot of thought into. Our Monday day will be welcomed by their mayor for a breakfast. And then we also have Tim Keene, who is their Planning Development Services Director for City of Boise. So again, who are the story makers? Who are the playmakers that have helped bring Boise along? Well, you're hearing straight from the horse's mouth on this. I believe we may be at City Hall for some of that. We'll do a walking tour. Then they have this incredible facility called Jump. Don't even know really how to describe it other than kind of a community hall of different small, like it can either be a large event center, it has various jump attractions, or just serious meetings. But, I think those are all the kinds of things we want to bring here rather than just our one, Pioneer Pavilion, is unique ways, unique gathering spots for our businesses and community to be able to meet. So we'll get a good firsthand look at that. We'll be meeting with their Director of Economic Development for the City of Boise, Sean Keekly, for a walking tour of the downtown. Then we're going to be meeting for lunch at a place called the Warehouse. So I know as, the city and chamber, we are all very much looking in the fair at, what could a food hall look like for us. So taking a lot of our food truck kinds of businesses and making a food pod kind of a warehouse, if you will. Maybe having a stage so that there's also entertainment X amount of nights out of the week. Well, Boise has been very successful at creating something like that called the Warehouse. So we'll be looking at that. Then we'll be heading to Boise State for a tour of their university, where we'll have different panels. We'll have a panel on construction and infrastructure, and so we'll be joined by the CEO of the Idaho Associated General Contractors to speak about that. We will then also hear from the Chamber's lobbyist, talk about their legislative issues, rural versus urban zoning, different tax issues, and then K through 12 investments. We'll have a Senator Janie Ward Engelking. It kind of sounds like King.
It does.
She is the Minority Caucus Chair, but we'll be speaking about education, finance, commerce, and HR kinds of issues that they are tackling. We'll have Clark Krause, who is the Executive Director of the Boise Valley Economic Partnership. So again, their economic development arm, that will be a panel there talking about Meta and Micron expansion. They've done a very good job about having niche industries that they've really, been very concentrated and targeted about attracting to the area. So I know they'll be speaking about that. We will be going to a fantastic place called the Cottonwood Grill for dinner. And then, so that concludes our Monday. Tuesday will be all about Caldwell and Meridian. And so en route to Caldwell, we will stop at those two libraries that I mentioned, and we'll be meeting with the mayor of Meridian. We'll get to talk to their economic development director out at Caldwell. They have a really cool Indian Creek revitalization. So when we think about our trail systems out here, and are we really capitalizing how they can look, how they can serve the public, we'll get to see how well they've done with that. And talking to a couple of their partners with Caldwell. There will be a winery that we'll get to tour as well, a brewery, all kinds of fun planned for that evening. And there's also a Basque block, if you will, that we'll visit too, just kind of tying into some of their heritage. On October 4th, we'll be heading to Riverside Grill. But again, this is going to put us on their trail system in Boise. So the other was, kind of Indian Creek trail system in Caldwell, but now we're really going to get to see how Boise has made that a core to their town, and in what ways they bring folks to that greenbelt development. And that's just a half day on Wednesday. So that kind of gives you a quick overview. But I think that gives you a great demonstration of the types and caliber of stakeholders that are, again, these are mayor, economic development director, people were vital, and we're, they're opening up their doors, rolling out the red carpet to us. So I'm excited about the 17 people we have coming from our area. I would love to see that, 2025 people. So there's still time. We had a deadline for September 1st to get our room blocks, but I went ahead and fluffed it a little bit, knowing there's probably a few of you still considering coming that could potentially join us. So today is a lot of just trying to unpack the value of City to City and really encouraging you to participate. We, again, the folks that are lined up, we've got, one of the execs from Pierce Transit that'll be attending. I told you the CEO from Washington State Fair. We have Workforce Central there. We've got our House representatives. We have, staff from the cities. So there's a lot of folks that are, again, key players here. Krista Linden, again, from Farm 12, that will be coming. And again, just a great opportunity to network together, build solutions for our communities together. And anything else you might want to add to why and how and why everyone should be considering to come. I'll mention we've got Elder Logistics coming as well. This is a husband and wife. They own a logistics, so a transport business. And why is it important to them? Well, they're a growing business. They're already in multiple states, but Boise is an intriguing state for them to consider. So again, there's a lot of value and a lot of reasons you can consider doing a tour like this. But for them, it makes sense to why not go figure out who the mayor and economic development manager is in a city that you might want to do business in, and you can get an idea of their culture there and how easy it is to do business or not. So lots of values, lots of reasons to join. Anything to add, Mayor and Meredith?
Well, I certainly do. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
That segue. I just want to state for the record, listen, I have no interest in wanting to be Gilbert or Boise or Tacoma or Seattle or Olympia, right? Those are nothing wrong with those cities. We want to be Puyallup, and I think you represent Sumner and Puyallup, and Sumner wants to be Sumner. So we want to maintain our identity, but we want it to be a vibrant. So what is it that makes us special, and how can we really, in a sense, kind of cultivate that, keep our identity, but grow that identity and being who we are. So our purpose is not to go and try to be somebody else. We want to be who we are as a community. So that's really important. I also think the other thing too is this is really not, when people think about city to city, they might be short-sighted to think it's only about economic development.
Sure.
But that's only one piece of it. We're talking about a community culture here, a city culture. So there's more than just economic development. It's about a good park system, a good education system, right? So all of these things make a great city. So the Chamber, in kind of moving us into these opportunities, is just talking more than just economic. It's about holistic health of a city. And so I really would like to, I went last year, and certainly I could go again, although I'm choosing not to for a couple of reasons. And here's why. I really want some of my colleagues out there to enjoy this opportunity. So I'm putting out a call to my colleagues on the Puyallup City Council and the Sumner City Council to consider joining and participating in it and take the small risk, which is really minimal risk, and come back and be inspired, like I know that you will.
Yeah.
I also want to encourage other organizations to consider. I think the Puyallup Main Street Association should be involved in this. If they have no representation, they should be involved in that. They're a functioning part of our city. I think WSU or Pierce College should consider being a part of this, especially if we're going to go visit some educational systems there. And I think other small businesses. Now, why are there small businesses? I can say maybe a prediction, but I'm going to make a kind of a relational wager. Anybody that chooses to go on this trip, I am absolutely convinced will come back changed for the better.
Yes.
And I believe that from firsthand information. And I think I can state that pretty safely, that if you go open-minded and willing to discover something good, you will find it. Of course, if you go in there closed-minded with all kinds of restrictions, that you're not going to get it. So if you're receptive and you step out and go, I'm absolutely confident you'll come back as a small business owner, inspired and ready to make your business grow. So I'm excited, and I want to thank you for hosting it. It's a fantastic opportunity. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for those words.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, this is a really jam-packed 3 days. I know at the end of the trip last year, we were all exhausted in the best possible way.
Yes.
And I think that, to your point about the relational nature of it for businesses and for small businesses. I mean, Puyallup, the vast majority of our businesses have 10 or less employees. Yeah. In fact, 50% of our businesses are solo entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And so, we have a lot of people who are growing their businesses here. And I think by being able to be there and meet other leaders in our community and also share what their struggles are. I mean, I think I learned a lot about some of the internal workings of some of our small and medium-sized businesses that I've been able to apply to some of the work that I do at the city. And they now know who to call. They have relationships with a number of different people that if they're looking for, an engineer to help them with something, they met an engineer who, works with the fair in Farm 12 or, they meet different people that they learn who they can call when they need help. And so I do think there is a big value in that as well.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Good. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for echoing all those very important points. Again, not too late to join us. We have a link on our website under our programs. This is City to City, and it does just have a quick information that says, yes, I'm interested, and then Hannah can get in touch with you to get you registered. So I hope you will consider joining us. It will be, again, as the mayor and Meredith mentioned, it's worthwhile. And you will not regret it and definitely come back changed. I believe all of those points and stand behind it. So thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate you both being here, echoing a lot of what you find the value to be your integral partners, and appreciate you both so much.
Thank you, Tara. Appreciate it. It's
great. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Hannah. Well, I think that's a wrap here for this C-Suite podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you on this trip. It will be memorable. Thank you.